Humans were forgotten, erased from the stars for centuries. The galaxy laughed, the Empire ruled, but humans were waiting. Hidden fleets, advanced weapons, a power no one could predict. A single warning shook the Empire to its core. Precision strikes, unstoppable strategy, fear spreading like wildfire. The Empire realized too late they had underestimated the extinct. Surrender now, or face total annihilation. Humanity had returned, stronger, smarter, and ready to reclaim the stars. The forgotten species was now the galaxy's unstoppable force. Subscribe now to witness humanity's ultimate rise. The galaxy had long forgotten humanity, believing that humans had vanished from the stars forever. Generations of alien civilizations grew up thinking Terrans were nothing more than a myth. Stories told in hushed tones about a species that once reached for the heavens but ultimately failed. Entire star systems that had once thrived under human guidance had become silent ruins, their planets slowly being claimed by alien empires and new colonies. Humans were spoken of in old histories as fragile and short-lived, a civilization that could not survive the harshness of space. Even the memory of human technology was considered lost, with ancient starships and weapons assumed to be nothing more than legend. Yet this belief could not have been further from the truth. Hidden in remote corners of the galaxy, humanity had survived, not as a single empire, but as scattered colonies. Each colony isolated by vast distances, harsh space environments, or the shadows of hidden star clusters. These communities became laboratories of human ingenuity, forcing the species to adapt in ways the galaxy had never imagined. Every challenge, whether lack of resources, hostile worlds, or cosmic disasters, was met with creativity and collaboration, turning weaknesses into strengths. Over decades, humans quietly advanced their science and engineering, creating fleets and technologies that were far beyond what the rest of the galaxy thought possible. Humanity's survival depended on secrecy, and secrecy became their greatest weapon. Every fleet, every colony, every hidden facility was carefully shielded from prying alien eyes. Scouts and observation teams monitored the stars for any signs of Imperial intrusion, ready to relocate, rebuild, or defend if necessary. Humans had learned patience, understanding that the galaxy's arrogance was their advantage. While empires expanded blindly, believing they were unchallenged, humans prepared meticulously, building the foundation for a return that no one would see coming. Within these colonies, humans preserved their culture, history, and spirit, refusing to let the flame of their civilization die. They celebrated their achievements quietly, honoring the bravery of ancestors who had survived catastrophic wars and near-extinction events. Children were raised with stories not only of survival, but of excellence, courage, and the belief that humans were destined to reclaim their place among the stars. Education, training, and discipline became central to every human community, each person aware that their skills might one day decide the fate of galaxies. Humans developed technologies that allowed them to hide from even the most advanced alien sensors. Cloaking systems, artificial stellar anomalies, and deep space camouflage kept their colonies invisible. Even when a distant alien scout passed nearby, no trace of humanity's presence could be detected. It was not just technology, but strategy. Humans learned to think like the galaxy itself, predicting movements, calculating probabilities, and preparing solutions before a threat ever arrived. Every ship, every weapon, every colony was part of a vast interconnected plan, invisible to those who believed the galaxy was theirs alone. Despite isolation, humans remained connected, forming networks of communication that spanned light years. Data, knowledge, and experience flowed quietly between colonies, ensuring no community was left behind. Humans had learned the value of patience and timing, understanding that the right moment could turn centuries of preparation into instant power. They waited not with fear, but with confidence, knowing that the day of reckoning would come, and when it did, humanity would not only survive, it would dominate. Stories of human resilience circulated secretly among colonies, inspiring every generation to believe in a future that others had denied them. Unlike the empires that ruled with arrogance and cruelty, humans relied on strategy, intelligence, and unity. Each colony was a testament to human adaptability, thriving on planets thought uninhabitable, mastering environments that would destroy lesser species. From frozen wastelands to gas giant orbiting platforms, humanity transformed the impossible into reality. Every discovery, every advancement was another step toward proving to the galaxy that humans were not a species to be forgotten. Though the galaxy had long assumed humans were extinct, humanity had been quietly shaping a future that no empire could predict. Each hidden colony, every secret fleet, every clever invention was a seed of the storm that would one day sweep across the stars. They were patient, cunning, and prepared, knowing that when the moment arrived, the galaxy would witness something it had never imagined. Humans were not just surviving, they were preparing for a return that would be remembered for millennia. A reminder that even in the shadows, the spark of life and ambition could never be extinguished. Humans waited, watched, and endured, the forgotten species of the galaxy, patiently building the tools of their vengeance and the legacy of their greatness. And while alien civilizations dismissed them as gone, the truth was simple. Humanity was alive, thriving, and ready to remind the stars why they had once been feared. The alien empire had grown mighty over centuries, conquering countless star systems with ruthless efficiency. Their fleet stretched across the galaxy, massive and well-armed, their armies disciplined, and their leaders confident in their absolute control. No civilization dared challenge them, and their dominance seemed unshakable. Within the imperial councils, leaders debated strategies for expansion, new worlds to claim, and potential threats to suppress. Every member of the empire believed that no species could ever match their strength or cunning, and humanity, long thought extinct, was never considered a concern. The empire's arrogance was both their greatest weapon and their deepest vulnerability. Officers often dismissed unusual signals or reports of strange phenomena near the borders, assuming them to be glitches, coincidences, or errors. Even whispers of old human colonies or Terran technology were laughed off as myths. Tales of humanity's past victories and ingenuity were considered quaint stories from a forgotten age, not warnings of what might still exist. Alien historians wrote of humanity as a fragile, failed species, unable to survive the harshness of space, reinforcing the belief that humans were irrelevant in the present. Within the empire, life was orderly, predictable, and controlled. But this confidence blinded its rulers to possibilities. They had expanded so quickly and completely that caution became unnecessary in their eyes. Each victory built upon the last, creating a cycle of overconfidence. Their fleets patrolled borders, systems were meticulously managed, and spies hunted dissent. Yet every method, every calculation, every plan was based on assumptions. Assumptions that humanity had not only survived, but had grown stronger. Signs of human activity went unnoticed. Scout reports dismissed, anomalies explained away, signals that did not match known species marked irrelevant. The empire's bureaucracy became a shield against reality, hiding the threat quietly growing in the shadows. Human colonies quietly built fleets, weapons, and advanced technologies while the empire celebrated minor victories, oblivious to the storm approaching from the forgotten corners of the galaxy. The arrogance of the empire reached beyond military strategy into culture and society. Propaganda portrayed humans as weak, inferior, and long extinct. Entertainment and history lessons depicted humans as a failed experiment in space travel, a species that had peaked and disappeared. Citizens of the empire grew complacent, trusting in their ruler's supremacy, believing no species could ever rise to challenge them. Soldiers prepared for campaigns with confidence. Assuming no real threat could emerge from a forgotten species, imperial leaders believed their fleets and armies could crush any opposition instantly. And this belief shaped every decision. Even when anomalies appeared, strange energy signatures, unusual construction activity, or unidentified ships, councils assumed natural phenomena or minor accidents. Underestimating humanity was ingrained in every level of command, making the empire blind to the strategic genius of a species it dismissed as extinct. This false sense of invincibility created weaknesses that humans would exploit when the time came. Some cracks in the empire's confidence began to appear, though few noticed them. Officers questioned anomalies, noting unusual movement patterns and energy fluctuations near the outer rim. Small whispers of caution were raised, but the culture of arrogance quickly silenced them. The empire's vastness made it impossible to monitor every corner, and overconfidence left blind spots unknown even to the most diligent analysts. Humans, patient and observant, studied the Empire, noting flaws and hubris-driven mistakes, ready to strike when the Empire felt safest. Every victory reinforced the Empire's arrogance, while every human preparation went unnoticed. The galaxy only saw the Empire's outward show of strength, unaware that a forgotten species was growing quietly, meticulously, and with intelligence. The Empire's focus on conquest and dominance blinded them to the return of a species that had once been their equal in ambition, technology, and strategy. When humans finally revealed themselves, the Empire would realize that underestimating them had been a fatal error, a mistake rooted in pride and arrogance. In their confidence, the Empire believed the galaxy was theirs to command, their victory's proof of eternal supremacy. They had mastered countless systems, crushed countless foes, and expanded beyond imagination. Yet in every assumption, every dismissal of the past, every blind eye turned to anomalies, the seeds of their downfall were quietly planted. Humanity, underestimated and forgotten, was preparing to remind the Empire that no amount of arrogance could erase the strength, resilience, and intelligence of a species determined to survive. The Empire's confidence and dismissive nature left them blind, unprepared, and vulnerable. And while they celebrated their victories, humanity was quietly building the foundation for a return that would challenge everything the Empire believed about the galaxy, about power, and about what it truly meant to dominate the stars. A routine patrol near the outer edges of Imperial space detected something unusual. A faint, repeating signal pulsed through the void, unlike anything recorded before. It was not an anomaly caused by stars or nebulae, nor was it from any known alien technology. The officers in charge examined the signal and initially shrugged it off, thinking it could be a sensor glitch, but the pattern was too deliberate, too structured to be random. It hinted at intelligence, careful design, and deliberate purpose, something that did not fit into the Empire's understanding of the galaxy. The transmission came in waves, each one carrying more information than the last. Coordinates of distant star systems, data about fleet formations, and technical schematics for massive ships that dwarfed the Empire's largest vessels. The message was clear to anyone who could read it. Humanity was not gone. It was waiting, hidden, and prepared. Those few officers who noticed the implications grew uneasy, but the chain of command dismissed their concerns, labeling the transmission as harmless, a relic from a lost civilization. The Empire continued its patrols, oblivious to the danger quietly approaching. Humans had carefully crafted this first warning, knowing the Empire's arrogance would lead them to underestimate it. The transmission was designed to be seen yet ignored, to test the Empire's response while revealing just enough information to prove capability. Deep space scouts observed the Empire from hidden positions, recording reactions, movements, and communications. Every action taken or ignored was cataloged by human intelligence, feeding into strategies that would eventually overwhelm Imperial calculations. The humans were patient, knowing that timing and precision mattered far more than brute force. Within the Empire, initial responses ranged from mild curiosity to outright mockery. Some officers joked about ghost transmissions from a long-dead species. Others suggested the signal might be an elaborate prank by rogue explorers. Yet even in laughter, doubt began to creep into a few minds. The data embedded in the transmission was too detailed, too accurate to be meaningless. Ships described in the schematics were massive, designed to carry immense weapons capable of system-wide destruction, and no empire could fabricate such plans without the knowledge and technology to back them up. Meanwhile, human colonies across the hidden regions of the galaxy monitored the Empire's reaction closely. Scientists, strategists, and commanders collaborated, ensuring that every message, every detail was perfectly calculated. The goal was not immediate war, but awareness, to make the Empire understand that humanity had returned, that they could no longer be ignored. The first warning was a signal of intent, a demonstration of patience, control, and intelligence, meant to disrupt the Empire's complacency and arrogance without firing a single shot. The warning was subtle, yet terrifying. Evidence of fleets lying in wait beyond Imperial sensors, weapon systems primed, and advanced defenses ready. All communicated indirectly. So the Empire had to choose whether to take it seriously or dismiss it entirely. It was a test, a probe, and a declaration all at once. Humanity was telling the Empire, "We are here. You cannot ignore us. Prepare, or you will face consequences. Despite the Empire's attempts to maintain confidence and control, unease began to spread quietly among analysts, whispering doubts that had no outlet for acknowledgement. No fleet movements were aggressive yet, but their scale was staggering. Calculations suggested that a human strike could cripple multiple Imperial systems simultaneously. The transmission revealed not just technology, but strategy, an understanding of Empire logistics, weak points, and predictive tactics. The Empire, arrogant and dismissive, could not yet comprehend the scope of human planning. Thinking it a curiosity rather than a threat, they allowed themselves to relax, unaware that the humans were already observing, adjusting, and preparing for the next phase. By the time the Empire began to realize the gravity of the transmission, humans had already assessed their readiness, measuring the Empire's confidence and calculating response times. Every misjudgment and delayed reaction added to human advantage. The Empire's arrogance had led them to underestimate even a single transmission, not realizing that it represented decades of preparation, intelligence gathering, and tactical genius. This first warning was not a strike, but a revelation, a reminder that humanity had survived, learned, and was ready to return in full force. The subtle brilliance of the first warning lay in its silence and patience. It revealed humans' presence without giving away all their strength, forcing the Empire to question, doubt, and investigate, exactly as humanity intended. By the time the implications became clear, humans would have already moved several steps ahead, their plans unfolding with perfect timing. The Empire, confident for centuries, would begin to feel the first tremors of a storm it never saw coming, and the galaxy would soon learn that humanity, far from extinct, was ready to reclaim its place among the stars. A massive holographic broadcast erupted simultaneously across every communication channel in the Empire. The display was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Humanity's symbol, a bold and unmistakable emblem, filled the view screens of every planet, every ship, every colony. The message was simple, direct, and chilling. Surrender now or face extinction. It left no room for misinterpretation. Every alien who saw it understood immediately that humans were alive, organized, and armed with devastating power. The broadcast did not rely solely on words. It included undeniable evidence of human fleets positioned strategically across hidden systems. Ships that dwarfed the Empire's largest warships, their hulls bristling with weapons capable of destroying entire fleets in moments. Advanced technologies previously thought lost to history were now operational, from cloaking systems that rendered massive vessels invisible to hyper-accurate energy weapons. The hologram demonstrated the humans' precision, discipline, and readiness, leaving no doubt that they were a force beyond imagination. Imperial leaders reacted with shock, disbelief, and rising panic. Many refused to believe what they saw at first, thinking it was a massive illusion. A few analysts argued that it could be a hoax, a psychological tactic designed to terrify and confuse. But the broadcast included live telemetry, scans, and coordinates that confirmed the human presence beyond any doubt. The Empire's arrogance, which had lasted for centuries, now turned into fear, its leaders realizing that their calculations had failed, and they had vastly underestimated a species they had long dismissed as extinct. Across the Empire, officials scrambled to understand the scope of the threat. Fleet commanders reviewed strategic maps, calculating the potential reach and firepower of human forces. Intelligence agencies worked frantically to trace the sources of the broadcast, but every attempt was met with sophisticated countermeasures. The humans had prepared for detection and interference, ensuring that the Empire would not be able to respond effectively before understanding the full scale of the threat. Every detail broadcasted was a lesson in human organization, patience, and tactical genius. The message spread panic not only among the leaders, but also among the citizens of the Empire. Propaganda that had painted humans as weak, primitive, and extinct now collapsed in an instant. Ordinary civilians watched in awe and terror as the sheer scale of human power became apparent. Rumors spread across star systems of fleets appearing from nowhere. Weapons far superior to anything known, and humans who had survived centuries of exile. The Empire's population, long confident in their ruler's supremacy, suddenly questioned whether they were truly safe. Humans had intentionally designed the broadcast to demonstrate both mercy and warning. The message demanded surrender, offering a chance to avoid destruction. Yet it carried the unspoken promise that refusal would lead to annihilation. Every detail, fleet positioning, weapon capabilities, and human coordination, was intended to prove that compliance was the only viable option. It was a display of strength and strategic brilliance, showing the Empire that humans were not only back, but were capable of dictating terms to an empire that had believed itself invincible. The broadcast also revealed a level of sophistication previously unimagined. Humans displayed simulations of their potential strikes, showing how they could disable entire Imperial systems without warning. They showcased their capacity to anticipate enemy movements, adapt instantly to threats, and coordinate across thousands of light years. The Empire realized that humanity had evolved far beyond simple survival. They were no longer a species of scattered colonies, but a calculated, disciplined force capable of challenging the most powerful empire in history. As the Empire tried to respond, confusion reigned, fleet orders were delayed, councils argued over interpretations, and the usual certainty of command broke down. The broadcast had achieved its purpose perfectly. It had shaken the Empire to its core, leaving it uncertain, hesitant, and vulnerable. While the humans had not fired a single shot, the galaxy could feel the weight of their presence, and the Empire knew that every second of delay increased the humans' advantage. In this moment, humanity's return became undeniable. The first true confrontation was not in battle, but in perception. The Empire understood that their arrogance had been their undoing, and that they had dismissed a species capable of altering the balance of power across the galaxy. The humans had sent a message louder than any weapon, and it demanded a choice: surrender and survive, or resist and face extinction. The stars themselves seemed to tremble as the reality of humanity's resurgence became impossible to ignore. The broadcast ended, but its impact lingered across every system. The Empire was no longer certain. Confidence had been replaced by fear, and the galaxy began to understand that a species once thought forgotten was now back, powerful, organized, and ready to reclaim its place. Humanity had spoken, and the Empire had no choice but to listen, question, and face the reality that their dominance was being challenged by a force they had believed long gone. The Empire was thrown into chaos as the full scale of humanity's warning became clear. Imperial councils convened in emergency sessions, their chambers buzzing with fear, debate, and disbelief. Leaders argued over the meaning of the broadcast, some insisting it must be a bluff, while others warned that ignoring it could lead to total destruction. Every decision was weighed against centuries of arrogance, but for the first time, certainty had vanished. Fleet commanders studied the data with growing unease, attempting to calculate human strength. But every estimate fell short. Each model predicted disaster. Each simulation failed to account for the humans' unpredictable strategies. Advanced technologies displayed in the broadcast seemed almost magical to the Empire's engineers, impossible to match or counter with existing fleets. Commanders realized that any offensive strike could provoke retaliation that would devastate entire sectors, leaving them hesitant and paralyzed. The Empire's intelligence agencies worked frantically to trace human colonies and hidden fleets, but humans had anticipated this. Deploying decoys, false signals, and layers of cloaking technology, humans revealed just enough to terrify, but never their full force. For every attempt the Empire made to locate them, the humans had already adapted, studied the response, and calculated the next move. The Empire realized too late that humanity's patience and planning had given them an edge that no brute force could match. In private, some Imperial leaders admitted the terrifying truth. Humanity had survived, grown, and now outmatched them. For generations, the Empire had dismissed humans as weak, extinct, and irrelevant, but the broadcast proved them wrong in a single moment. This realization spread unease through the military, counselors, and civilian populations alike, undermining confidence in leadership and shaking the foundation of the Empire's authority. For the first time, fear replaced arrogance, and uncertainty spread like wildfire. The Empire's bureaucratic machinery, once a symbol of strength, became a hindrance. Orders moved slowly through layers of councils, each argument and debate delaying urgent action. Human strategy relied on this delay, giving them time to refine their positions, reinforce hidden fleets, and prepare for the next phase. The Empire had underestimated not only the humans' technological power, but also their intelligence, patience, and ability to manipulate perception. Every hesitation and misstep widened the gap between the two civilizations. Meanwhile, humans observed quietly, analyzing every decision made by the Empire. Every sign of hesitation, every miscalculation, every moment of fear was recorded, studied, and used to refine future strategies. They understood the Empire's strengths, weaknesses, and psychology far better than the Empire understood them. Each human commander knew that timing and precision were more powerful than raw force. The goal was not to provoke panic alone, but to shape the Empire's actions, guiding them into positions of vulnerability without firing a single shot. The Empire's council debated whether to launch preemptive strikes, evacuate key systems, or attempt diplomacy. But the knowledge of humanity's power made every option seem perilous. Every decision carried catastrophic risk, and no leader wanted to be remembered as the one who triggered the destruction of thousands of worlds. Even the most aggressive generals realized that traditional tactics would fail against an enemy who had already demonstrated superior strategy. Technology and foresight, fear began to spread among the Empire's civilian population. Reports of human fleets and weapons circulated quickly, fueled by the holographic broadcast. Ordinary citizens who had never thought much about humans now questioned their safety. Rumors of entire systems being destroyed or conquered by the forgotten species spread like wildfire. Even those far from the frontiers began to feel the weight of humanity's presence. And trust in the Empire's invincibility faltered. As the Empire wrestled with fear, hesitation, and disbelief, humans prepared for the next stage of their plan. They were patient, calculating, and deliberate, understanding that the Empire's uncertainty was more powerful than any immediate strike. Each moment of imperial indecision strengthened humanity's advantage. The Empire realized slowly that they were facing a species that had mastered patience, strategy, and intelligence. A species that could manipulate fear and perception as effectively as weapons. The first true test of the Empire was not in battle, but in their ability to respond, and humanity had already won this test. The Empire had underestimated them, reacted slowly, and allowed fear to spread, showing the humans that centuries of preparation and secrecy had been worth every sacrifice. Humanity's warning had shattered the illusion of invincibility, leaving the Empire confused, fearful, and vulnerable, and setting the stage for the confrontation that would decide the fate of countless worlds. By the end of the deliberations, one truth was undeniable. Humanity was no longer a distant memory or a legend. They were real, powerful, and capable of destroying empires. The Empire now faced a choice: surrender to the humans and survive, or resist and risk total annihilation. And in that moment of fear and uncertainty, the humans' first psychological strike had already succeeded, reshaping the galaxy's perception and leaving the Empire questioning everything they had once believed. Without waiting for the Empire to fully react, humanity launched precise, calculated strikes against key targets. Their attacks were not chaotic or blind. Every movement was carefully planned. Every fleet, every ship, every weapon system operated with perfect coordination, striking with speed and accuracy. The targets were chosen to cripple the Empire's ability to supply, reinforce, or coordinate. Supply lines were destroyed, communication hubs disabled, and military installations rendered useless. Each strike demonstrated not just power, but intelligence, teaching the Empire a lesson in strategy they had never anticipated. The humans avoided unnecessary destruction of civilian worlds, focusing instead on military infrastructure and strategic points. This showed the Empire that humans were disciplined, intelligent, and capable of restraint. Their goal was not mindless slaughter, but precision and efficiency. Every strike was a statement. Humanity had returned, and they would not be underestimated. Imperial commanders, watching their fleets crumble under unexpected human tactics, struggled to adapt. Every maneuver they attempted was countered, predicted, and neutralized, leaving their forces confused and vulnerable. Human ships used advanced cloaking technology to appear and vanish unpredictably, making it nearly impossible for the Empire to track them. Strike groups attacked from unexpected angles, bypassing massive defensive formations with ease. Weapons fired with deadly precision, disabling engines, weapons arrays, and shields. The humans demonstrated mastery over speed, stealth, and firepower, showing that they had studied the Empire for decades and knew exactly where to hit to maximize impact. As strikes continued, panic spread among Imperial fleets and colonies. Commanders who had once dismissed humans as extinct were forced to confront reality. Their most confident plans failed repeatedly, and simulations collapsed under the reality of human tactics. Communication between fleets became chaotic, as units acted defensively or retreated in confusion. The humans' attacks were methodical, showing a level of patience and strategy the Empire could not comprehend, and every failure of Imperial forces strengthened the humans' advantage. The humans demonstrated adaptability as well, adjusting tactics in real time based on Imperial responses. Each strike refined their understanding of enemy behavior, exploiting weaknesses and punishing hesitation. No matter how the Empire tried to anticipate them, humans were always one step ahead. Coordinated attacks across multiple systems forced the Empire to divide attention and resources, stretching their forces thin, leaving critical systems exposed and vulnerable. Behind the attacks, humans maintained communication and observation across all fleets, sharing data instantly, learning from every Imperial move. Their technological advantage was not just in weapons, but in information, coordination, and timing. This allowed them to act as one vast network, every colony and ship integrated into a single, synchronized force. The Empire, used to rigid hierarchies and slow decision-making, could not respond with the same speed or precision, creating chaos within their ranks. The psychological impact of these strikes was enormous. Entire fleets that had once been symbols of Imperial power were destroyed or disabled in moments. Planets previously considered secure found themselves cut off from supply and defense. Fear spread through the Empire's civilian populations as news of human efficiency and firepower traveled faster than the attacks themselves. The humans had proven they were not only capable of surviving in the shadows, but also of striking with unstoppable force when the time was right. Every successful strike reinforced the humans' larger strategy, weakening the Empire without overextending themselves. Their patience, discipline, and planning allowed them to achieve maximum effect with minimal risk. Commanders coordinated attacks in waves, allowing the Empire no chance to recover or regroup. Each target, whether a fleet, a supply depot, or a communication hub, was chosen to create cascading disruption, multiplying the effect of every strike across the Empire's systems. As the Empire struggled to respond, they began to realize that they were facing not just a military force, but a superior strategy. The humans had combined technology, intelligence, and patience to create a level of precision the Empire could not match. Even as the Empire's pride demanded retaliation, their forces were crippled, unable to mount effective resistance, and every move they made played into the humans' hands. By the end of these initial strikes, the Empire's sense of control was shattered. They could no longer claim superiority, and their dominance over the galaxy was visibly weakened. Humanity had revealed itself not only as alive, but as masters of strategy, timing, and power. Their strikes were a declaration. They had returned, they were prepared, and the galaxy would never again underestimate them. The humans had shown that they did not need to conquer the entire Empire in a single blow. Their intelligence, coordination, and patience had already ensured that victory was within reach. As the human strikes continued with precise efficiency, panic spread throughout the Empire. Entire systems once thought secure were crippled, supply lines severed, and key communication networks rendered useless. Imperial leaders scrambled to respond, but every decision they made seemed to play into human hands. Confidence that had lasted centuries was replaced by fear. The Empire realized that their previous arrogance had blinded them to the true power of a species they had long dismissed as extinct. Fleet commanders debated retreat, counterattack, or diplomacy, but none of their plans offered a clear path to safety. Every maneuver attempted by the Empire was anticipated, countered, and neutralized by human forces. Their precision and timing made them nearly impossible to defeat in open confrontation. Even the most aggressive generals recognized that traditional strategies would fail, and any rash action could result in catastrophic loss. The Empire's usual certainty and control had vanished, replaced by confusion and hesitation. Civilians across the Empire grew aware of humanity's presence, Rumors and reports of human fleets, advanced weaponry, and unstoppable precision circulated quickly. Fear spread faster than the attacks themselves, and trust in leadership faltered. Even those far from the front lines began to question whether the Empire could truly protect them. The psychological impact of human strikes was profound, eroding morale and confidence while simultaneously demonstrating that humans were not only capable of survival, but now masters of strategy and technology. Amid the chaos, human forces observed quietly, studying every reaction, every miscalculation, and every hesitation. They adjusted tactics in real time, exploiting weaknesses and ensuring maximum impact. Every human action was carefully calculated, designed not only to weaken the Empire militarily, but also to reinforce fear and uncertainty. Their patient, methodical approach showed a level of discipline and foresight that the Empire could not match, and every step strengthened humanity's advantage. The Empire's council, for the first time, faced the terrifying possibility that they could lose everything. Leaders who had once dismissed humans as a myth now realized that surrender might be the only way to prevent total annihilation. Strategic discussions became urgent, fraught with tension, as the scale of human power became undeniable. Analysts reviewed fleet reports and simulations again and again, but no plan could overcome the reality of human precision and preparation. Every delay, every disagreement, left the Empire more vulnerable. Humans had achieved their goal without the need for widespread destruction of civilian populations. Demonstrating both power and restraint, they struck hard and efficiently at military targets, crippling fleets, destroying supply chains, and neutralizing strategic installations. The Empire realized that these were not random attacks, but a carefully executed plan that combined technology, intelligence, and patience. Human forces had mastered both the science of war and the psychology of fear, ensuring that every move sent a clear message. As the Empire's leaders finally grasped the scale of the threat, communications opened cautiously, desperate for negotiation. Humanity's terms were clear and uncompromising: recognition of their power, reparations for centuries of neglect, and strict boundaries ensuring the safety of human colonies. Failure to comply would mean total destruction. The Empire, weakened, confused, and fearful, understood that resistance could no longer be a viable option. Humanity's strikes had forced a reckoning, demonstrating that negotiation, not battle, might now be the only way to survive. The humans withdrew strategically after each wave of attacks, leaving the Empire shaken but still intact. Every action had been deliberate, aimed at teaching a lesson without completely annihilating the enemy. This approach reinforced the message that humanity had returned not only as survivors, but as masters of strategy and calculated power. The Empire, humbled and fearful, began to realize that they could not dominate the galaxy in the same way as before. Every calculation, every assumption about supremacy had been challenged and proven wrong. The psychological impact of humanity's campaign was as significant as the physical damage. Entire fleets had been destroyed or neutralized, and imperial control over key systems had been shattered. Citizens and military personnel alike now feared the humans' capability. Their precision, intelligence, and coordination had rewritten the rules of engagement across the galaxy. Humanity had proven that they were no longer a distant memory or a myth, but a living, calculating force capable of dictating terms to an empire that had once believed itself invincible. By the end of this phase, the Empire understood that surrender was the only way to preserve its existence. Humans had reshaped the balance of power without overextending themselves, showing restraint while proving dominance. The message was clear. Humanity had returned, stronger than ever, and the Empire had no choice but to listen, respect, and comply. Failure to do so would result in consequences that no civilization could survive. And in this realization, the Empire faced the true scope of humanity's power for the first time, preparing the stage for a new order in the galaxy. The Empire, weakened, shocked, and humbled, finally faced the undeniable truth. Humanity was no longer a forgotten species. They had survived, adapted, and grown stronger in the shadows. Their patience, strategy, and intelligence had allowed them to prepare for this moment over centuries. The Empire, confident for generations, now realized that their dominance was not absolute, and the galaxy had changed in ways they could not reverse. Humanity's fleets remained poised across hidden systems, their presence both a threat and a promise. Every ship, every weapon, every trained crew was ready to act with precision. Yet humans had not overextended themselves. They understood the value of restraint, showing the Empire that their power was calculated and deliberate, not reckless. Every move made by the humans had been designed to teach the Empire a lesson. Never underestimate a species that has survived against all odds. The Imperial Council convened in desperation, attempting to negotiate, analyze, and strategize simultaneously. Leaders realized that any attempt to regain full control could provoke further strikes, and yet surrender meant conceding centuries of pride and dominance. They were trapped between fear and arrogance, knowing that their choices were limited and that missteps could result in total annihilation. Humanity had forced the Empire to reconsider every assumption about power, strategy, and survival. Humans had not only demonstrated technological superiority, but also psychological mastery. Their actions had shown that warfare was not only about ships and weapons, but about patience, perception, and control. Each calculated strike, each broadcast, each maneuver had undermined the Empire's confidence while strengthening humanity's position. For the first time, the Empire truly understood that humans were a force unlike any other, capable of orchestrating outcomes without unnecessary chaos. Across the galaxy, Imperial citizens watched in awe and fear, learning that a species they had long dismissed as extinct now controlled the terms of engagement. The sense of invincibility that had defined the Empire for centuries was gone, replaced by caution, anxiety, and reluctant respect. Even ordinary people began to understand that humanity's return was not a rumor or myth, but a calculated, unstoppable reality. Humanity communicated its terms clearly. Recognition of their power, the safety of their colonies, and the respect that centuries of survival and planning demanded. Compliance would allow the Empire to preserve lives, infrastructure, and remaining fleets. Resistance would guarantee destruction. The clarity of these terms left no room for doubt. And the Empire, having witnessed human precision firsthand, had little choice but to comply. Human forces began to consolidate, moving strategically while maintaining readiness. They showed restraint, demonstrating that their goal was not senseless conquest, but the establishment of a new balance of power. Humanity had learned from history, knowing that mercy combined with overwhelming force could achieve compliance more effectively than total annihilation. The Empire's leaders, humbled and fearful, were forced to negotiate under conditions they could no longer dictate. The psychological effect of this final stage was profound. Entire fleets had been neutralized, key systems controlled, and the Empire's confidence shattered. Citizens and military personnel alike realized that humans had returned stronger, smarter, and more prepared than ever before. Every act of restraint, every demonstration of calculated power, reinforced the understanding that humanity was not only capable of surviving the galaxy, but of reshaping it on their terms. As negotiations proceeded, humans maintained the advantage, controlling information, positioning, and timing. Their patience, discipline, and intelligence ensured that the Empire could not regain its previous dominance. Every decision made by the Imperial Council was now influenced by the reality of human power. And every move reinforced the new hierarchy emerging across the stars. Humanity had proven that survival was not enough. They were masters of strategy, control, and influence. By the end of this confrontation, the Empire accepted humanity's terms, recognizing that their previous assumptions about extinction and weakness had been catastrophically wrong. The galaxy had witnessed the rise of a species that had been underestimated for centuries. A species that had used patience, intelligence, and preparation to reclaim its place among the stars. Humanity had not only survived, but had returned to teach the galaxy a lesson in humility, strength, and the power of strategic mastery. In the aftermath, humans consolidated their influence, securing their colonies and establishing a presence that no empire could ignore. The Empire, humbled and compliant, began a cautious new relationship with a species it had once written off as extinct. The galaxy, too, began to understand that survival, strategy, and intelligence were far more powerful than arrogance and brute force. Humanity had spoken, and the message was clear. They had returned, unstoppable, precise, and ready to ensure their legacy among the stars. The Empire would never forget this moment. the day they realized that humans, once thought gone, were the galaxy's enduring force. Their patience, planning, and precision had changed history forever. Humanity had sent its final message, not with destruction alone, but with the certainty of their return. And the galaxy now knew that extinction was no longer an option for those who challenged them.